The moment you're looking at anybody else, you're taking that time away from yourself. And I think it's so easy to fall in that trap. Why has social media made you feel like you're not enough? As far as I'm concerned, there's no such thing as an overnight success.
Do you find yourself winging your way through life, hoping you'll figure it all out on the way? Hello, it's me, Gabby Mendez, your 20s wing woman, and you're listening to the Talk Twenties podcast. Here you'll find me chatting to influential 20-somethings on different topics that matter to you in your 20s and all the things we never got taught in school. This is your ultimate guide to adult life. So if you're ready, let's go. Hello and welcome to a brand new episode of the Talk Twenties podcast. Today I'm joined by singer-songwriter Tallia Storm, and we're going to be talking all about overnight success and what that actually really means in reality. So hello, Tallia. Welcome to the studio. I'm so excited to have you on the Talk 20s podcast. Thanks so much for coming up to the studio and for chatting with us today.
Hello, Gabby. Thank you so much for having me. This is so exciting. First of all, cutest studio setup ever. I'm in love with it. I love the graphics. I'm in. I am all in.
Thank you so much. Honestly, it's been lovely to chat to you because I feel like this is something that you've kind of said you felt an attachment to, and you felt a lot of things. You're 23 yourself, and you kind of felt like looking at Talk 20s, it kind of related to a lot of things that you were going through, right?
Yeah, first of all, I'm a fan of the podcast. I listen to this podcast, and I think there is this huge gap, like you said, of you're coming into your 20s, you don't really know what you are, what you're doing, what you're meant to be. You put all this pressure on yourself, and I think there's no one out there saying it like it is. And I feel like we all just need to be a wee bit more open, looking out for one another. And I think that's what I love about Talk 20s.
Yeah, well, thank you so much for the lovely words, because I think that's literally all we've trying to do with this platform is kind of open up those conversations and say, look, none of us have got it all figured out. We all don't know what we're doing. We're all kind of winging it. But let's be open about the things that we can get wrong and we have got wrong so that other people can learn from that and kind of have these conversations. And that's the whole reason why we do the podcast. So thank you so much for coming up. We're going to talk a little bit today about overnight success, but how it's kind of normalized in society. We kind of feel like everyone is achieving this crazy success. It's probably exploded a little bit with TikTok and things like that, and how potentially easy it is to go viral nowadays. But also how that can have a big impact and a big change on your life, and it can throw us a lot of ups and downs. I think you have one of the most interesting kind of backstories because you've had a kind of a teenage life that probably a lot of people can maybe not relate to or think, wow, that's a really, really, really big achievement. So take us back to Tallia before she stepped into the limelight. You were 12, 13 at this kind of time. Tell us a little bit more about Tallia back then.
Yeah, so Tallia was obsessed with singing. I was obsessed with music. I played the flute at school. I loved making shows in my playroom and in my bedroom. I always used to make my sister dress up with me and perform, and we would film it all in a very ancient whatever camera that it was my mum's. And I loved entertaining, and I think the emphasis is on entertaining. I loved that feeling of putting a smile on someone else's face. I loved that feeling of just creating something, the artistic side of it. When I was 12, I won the art prize in my school, in my whole junior school. I loved being artistic, and everything I did, I loved, a story behind it. I loved the emotion behind anything, and I think that's where I really fell into music. I always felt I had this feeling inside me, and I heard Gary Vee talk about this. I always had this feeling that I was meant to do more. Now, I'm not comparing that to anyone else. I'm comparing it to myself. I wasn't doing enough. I had this feeling from a young age that I could do more. I could be better. This hunger inside me. And I could never really, put my finger on what it was. But for me, music was my safe place. I didn't really fit in at school. I was a bit of a nerd. I loved working hard. I loved getting A stars. I loved just going over the top with the project. I was that annoying kid in class, but I just, maybe a bit of a perfectionist, but I loved, the art of everything. I loved the art of, getting an A. I loved the art of a teacher being you're great. So I think in school, that was one journey of me. But in terms of everything I did just was artistic, and everything led back to music for me. So I think from a very early age, I just knew I was meant to perform. And that's how my kind of journey started before my big break.
Absolutely. So let's talk about that big break, because it's quite a unique story. And I think if you were to say kind of you know, overnight success is a lot about making your own luck, which I think a lot of it is, you know, it's not just going to be handed to you on a plate. I think this example at 13 years old is probably one of the biggest ways you can make your own luck.
Yeah.
And it has essentially helped you throughout your whole career now. Tell us a little bit more about what you did at 13.
So I've literally been telling this story for 10 years. So I am 23 and my big break happened when I was 13. So I kind of want to tell the story from an eye of a 23-year-old now. And that, you know, when this happened, my life changed overnight. But it is a ladder and I am still not there yet, but I'm still as hungry as ever. And I feel like I want this to be an example of like, I feel like nowadays, I was even talking to my friend who's just graduated from uni. She's got an incredible job in finance. And there's this feeling in young people that we're just not doing enough. Well, I kind of want to be that voice of like, hang on a minute, you are doing enough. You are so young. You can build your own ladder and go at your own pace. So on that note, when I was 13, I passed my demo tape to Elton John's partner, Sir David Furnish. And 24 hours later, Sir Elton John phoned my mobile and said that he loved my voice. He loved my little pink flamingo website at the time and asked me if I would like to open his concert in Scotland. Now, I think about this all the time because I'm like, 13-year-old me, first of all, had this demo tape. You know, I'd been working on these songs, you know, very demo, let me stress. And, you know, I think it was the courage of being like, hey, I can get a massive no. Is that okay with failure? Is that okay if like, hey, I could embarrass myself right now? It was a complete chance encounter. I saw David Furnish in a restaurant. I went up to him and I was like, look, this is my demo tape. If there's any way you could pass this on. I literally brought my like 6-7-year-old brother at the time who was absolutely adorable. And we spoke a bit. He said he had some sort of relation to Scotland. His son is also called Zachary. My brother was called Zach, who I brought. And yeah, we just got on really well. But I didn't really think anything of it. I just felt like that was part of my journey and that feeling of needing to do more, needing to just be doing. And I think I really stress on doing. Sometimes it's not about what it is, it's just about doing. The same way, like, I love your podcast and I wanted to reach out to you. I just feel like nowadays we don't really need to wait for that one moment. We just need to create it and let the universe do the rest.
I have something like to add on that. Like, does anything about not being perfect ever hold you back at all? Because I think a lot of 20-somethings, or the stories that I keep hearing is that like they want to do all these amazing things, but like you say, your demo was not, you look back at your demo and you might have thought it was, you know, you loved that at the time, but did you feel in yourself that it was like perfect? Or because I think that's a lot of what holds people back, is that like they want to reach out at the perfect time, they want to be like have the most perfect platform before they do that, they want to reach X amount of followers before they do that. Like, do you ever think, does that ever come into your mind at all?
So they say the saying is, you know, quality over quantity, but I actually go against that. I say it's quantity over quality in terms of it's the consistency. It doesn't have to be perfect. Show the journey. And that the reason why I did want to come on this podcast, I get a lot of comments on TikTok. So I've just hit 550,000 in TikTok. I've got like 17 million likes, and that's a lot of people that have never heard of me before that are discovering me for the first time. So I get a lot of comments as, who is she? Like, how do I know her? Where is she from? Now, I have done a lot in my 10 years, but I've not made it. I don't have a song in the charts. I've not written my hit, but I know I will. I will get my hit. I will be in the charts and I will get a number one day, but it's not happened yet. So when I see these comments, I'm like, wow, it's two things. It's, first of all, it's amazing that I'm still getting to reach all these new people. Second of all, isn't it also amazing that people get to discover me and see that, like, hang on a minute, this girl is still going? And if there's anything, you know, when I see a mean tweet or something like that, funny enough, there was one yesterday, a girl tweeted like, Tallia Storm on my TikTok For You page, like a lot of swear words, get off, this girl is everywhere. So I replied to it being like, babe, if you want to make a TikTok with me, just let me know, let's film it. Okay. So obviously, like, even like Judy Murray like favorited it, and like loads of people were like favoriting it.
Judy Murray, oh my god,
what a legend, right? And then she replied going, let's do it, but I'll stand still. And I was like,
I'll stand still.
I think maybe, you know, doesn't want to move about. Yeah. Whatever, fine. But that's my point of someone that's saying something that she doesn't actually mean. She doesn't hate me. She doesn't not like me. She just doesn't really know who I am. She doesn't know my story. So if anything, I want to tell my story. I want to be like, hey guys, I'm hustling. I'm not perfect. I'm doing my best. I'm learning every day. I am, you know, lockdown. Lockdown, I think, was a big one for me. It's that moment where I stopped and I was like, hang on a minute. I'm on this journey. I'm working so hard. I'm releasing all this music. I'm not there. You know, I'm not releasing a song and it's going viral on TikTok. I'm not an Olivia Rodrigo. I'm 23 and my dreams haven't come true yet. So I sat down and I was like, do more. You know, why is it that we almost feel sorry for ourselves work on myself, Tallia. Be better myself. I'm not comparing myself to anyone else. My journey is completely different from anyone else's, and I would never compare to anybody else, never judge anybody else. We all have completely different stories. But for me, I was like, do more. So I learned the piano. And literally, I must have spent about 6-7 hours every single day on that piano. I'd never played piano before, and now I play piano because of lockdown. And I think for me, it's like, don't cry about it. Like, get up and do more. Tallia. And that's me talking to myself. So I think that's just kind of where I am right now. And it really does come with growing up. And this is why I think this Talk 20s is so important, because it's like 23-year-old Tallia is so different from 19-year-old Tallia. Like, I don't want to say I hit rock bottom, because I'm so lucky. I'm very, very lucky, you know, for all these blessings to come into my life. But I was really depressed when I turned 20. You know, I did Celebs Go Dating at 19. I was the 5th most Googled artist in the world, behind Cardi B, but yet nobody knows who I am. The 5th Googled. Google Analytics put that out.
That's
Tallia
crazy.
Storm.
Yeah.
And it was like Childish Gambino, Cardi B, Tallia Storm number 5, a tiny girl from Scotland. And I think it was this idea of like, hey, I have everything I've ever wanted. I am on one of the biggest primetime TV shows with Gemma Collins, who's a national icon.
Yeah.
You know, I had made these amazing friends. I had just experienced, 6 cameras around me 24/7 for 3 months of my life. I would walk out the house and I'd get Daily Mail stories. I'd have like paparazzi following me, but yet I wasn't famous and our song wasn't in the charts. So I think for me, it's also greed, because it's the greed of wanting more, of getting a taste of it and being like, well, I want more. Well, hang on a minute, slow down. And that is my message today. Slow down. I am more content than I've ever been, because I know I'm exactly where I'm meant to be. I'm not there yet, but I know that I'm working hard. My music's getting better. I'm getting better as a songwriter. My vocals are still getting better. My piano's getting better. And I know that hit will come, but it's not there yet. And that's okay.
I love that. I think one of the things you're saying here is obviously like, I think when you say like do more, I think it's also an element of like do more and be okay with potentially failing, because that's the only way that you're gonna be able to kind of to push yourself further. Because I think obviously with the two messages of like do more but then also slow down, it's like experiment, try different things, see what works, learning the piano, posting on TikTok, doing lots of different things, but also be okay with like where you are at in this moment. And I think that's such a really fine balance for 20 somethings at the moment, because they're thinking like, yes, I should be doing this, I should be trying these different things, I should be doing loads of that. And then they're feeling the real pressure from failure and like how that can knock you back time after time after time.
I think
a
you're
lot.
saying it's do more, but being okay with it failing. And I think that should really, if you wake up every morning being like, I'm 27 or I'm 21, the only thing your 20s should be about. Should be about trying. It should be about being okay with it going completely wrong. And I think I said this to you earlier, one of my greatest strengths in life is that I bounce back from failing. Like I fail every day. I am, stuff really doesn't go right. I pick up, but I feel like that's through experience. I'm sure we're going to go on to it later on about, what failures really resonated with me. But when I was 15, I had a record deal, and we'll go into that later. But I think it's all of these lessons and being okay with like, hey, I've just been knocked down flat in my face and everyone's laughing at me, but hey, I'm going to be okay because I don't care about your judgment. And I think it's about being self-aware but not entitled. So I think it's about being okay with, that was embarrassing maybe, but embarrassing to who? Embarrassing to my ego? Dry your tears. Get on with it. It's me against me. And I think the sooner you come to terms with that, and I'm not saying that I wake up every day and I'm like, oh, let's go, like let's just, of course there are days that I wake up and I'm like, that one hurt, but like that's okay. That is what being 20 is all about. And I think if you get to 29, 30 and you've just had like 10 years of everything going wrong, and what? Like, this is what 20s are about. I think my grandfather literally came from nothing. My grandma too. They lived in a tenement building, and he always told us stories about like, the communal toilet outside. And he built his business, and it kicked off when he was 50. Like, he was literally a plumber. He dropped out of school at 13. His big break didn't come till he was 50.
Yeah.
So I think, why is it that because we watch one episode of Too Hot to Handle and they've got, 3 million followers on Instagram now, do we think that that is the basis of how our success should be? What is that success? Is it? I think it really is about that journey, and you've got to enjoy every moment of it.
I think it's crazy because obviously you mentioned that like being on a big show like Celebs Go Dating, for many people, that would be a big break, right? That would be like success, tick, box done. Why for you do you feel like that isn't the end, like the end goal? Like, you know, you can say like, oh, I've been on Celebs Go Date and I'm happy now. Like,
I know inside me that my destiny is to be a performer and to sing on stage and to write songs. I am my happiest when I'm in the studio. You know, I'm not checking my phone. I'm not looking at the clock. And TV, I love every minute of it because I can speak for Britain. You know, I was like on Good Morning Britain last week, babbling away. Like, I can talk. I love speaking. I love entertaining. And being on Celebs Go Dating was entertainment. I loved every minute of it. But I know that my purpose in life is music. And I know that that is where I feel safe and I feel comfortable. But I think it's also okay to like be okay with the path not fully being it. You know, if we actually go back to 13-year-old Tallia, I'm sure that I would have thought Elton John saying that, you know, he said I had one of the best soul signatures he'd heard in 20 years. So Elton John, who's a global superstar, saying that about my voice. And then, you know, 23, well, I've still not had a hit. But that's my ego. That's greed. Who do I think I am? Am I entitled to have a hit just because Elton John said that? No.
Yeah.
Work harder, Tallia. Do more. Write a better song. So it really is me against me. And I think the sooner you come to terms with that about yourself, then that is when I think the universe really does start to open up. And I think I've done more growing in the last year than I have all of my years put together. Like 22 was the year for me that I feel like I found myself, I found my purpose, I found my understanding, and I found my pace for life. I'm not looking around to everyone else. Every moment you're looking at someone else, you're taking away that time from your own time and your own destiny. And I think, you know, there's no point doing that, punishing yourself in that way. You know, Olivia Rodrigo's had her at 17, Lizzo had hers at 30. Like, let's just calm down, okay? Let's just enjoy the journey and go out with our friends and stop trying to be this perfectionist within yourself. You know, I'm not even talking about Instagram and, you know, looking perfect on the gram. I'm talking about looking perfect inside to yourself. Because if you think about how we hype our friends up, we're on WhatsApp and we're on FaceTime, we're like, nah, that boy, like, you're so much better. You can do so.
Yeah.
Talk to yourself
like that,
the way you talk to your friend trying to hype her up because she just got her heart broken. And yeah, that's where I am.
I think it's what you're essentially saying is like, and I've heard the saying a lot, is focus on being like 1% better every single day for you, not for anyone else. Focus on you being a better person 1% every single time, because over time that's going to compound, and then you'll eventually end up in a direction where you feel like most comfortable and you feel proud of, just by taking that one step closer to being the person that you want to be. Do you kind of feel that in your music that you make, in your work that you do? Do you feel like it's like taking that step a little bit closer to the Tallia that you feel like you really want to be?
Yeah, I think it's just also being honest with yourself. I think it's just about being at one with yourself and not looking on the outside. And I think now more than ever, you know, if I think back to, I was listening to Gary Vee and he was like, you know, if you think back to your grandparents and how hard it was for them to get eyes on them, to get eyes to look at their business and look at their voice and, you know, hear what they had to say, whether it was a podcast, whether it was music, you know, whether it was playing the piano, whatever their talent was, how hard it was to share that and get it to the world. Where now the power of technology is on our fingertips. So, you know, I can post a TikTok and I can get 1 million views. You know, it's like anyone can do that. And I think, and now more than ever, yes, it comes with this pressure, but at the same time, it's like, isn't this incredible that we have the tools? So I think it's take it slow, take a breather, and just chill out. You know, I think we just need to chill. And I'm speaking to myself. Like I'm not even here to preach. I'm honestly I'm talking to myself. Like I'm like, I've gone through it. So this is what I'm going through. I'm not even through it. I'm going through it right now.
Definitely. So in terms of like failure and how the way you look on failure in life, when you look back, you mentioned beforehand that one of the things that you kind of label as a failure is the record deal situation that you had in your teens. Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
So I've actually never spoken about this, and it's a funny one because I do think about it a lot because I feel like it shaped me as a person. So when I was 15, I after the Elton John thing, I obviously, next thing I was on the front cover of like the Metro and like the Sun and the Daily Mail. I was everywhere. This 13-year-old with a big voice. So now I was 14. every label was all over me. Like, I got flown out to New York. I got flown out to LA to sing for every label head going. Like from Ellie Reid to, Monty Lipman to, every label head. And I had this incredible lawyer called Theo Sedemeier who looked after Drake. Now, first of all, he was actually the first person that got on board. So I did a TED Talk. It was Nile Rodgers that flew me out to New York, did my TED Talk, telling my story about finding your thing. And after it, an incredible guy called Andrew, who was doing this big party for MTV, was like, "You're incredible, come and sing for me." I sang, and then there was this lawyer in the audience called Theo Sedemeier who looked after Drake, Eminem, Cardi B. And he was like, "We've got to look after you." And I was like, incredible. So I'm like break after break. I'm living my wildest dreams. I can't even explain how grateful I am. So I got flown out, New York, LA, sing for all the label heads, and there were bidding wars. Everyone was like, "We need Tallia Storm, we need Tallia Storm, we need Tallia Storm. This is the voice, this is it. So Ron Fair, who was working at Virgin Records, which is Capitol Records in LA, was my favourite. He did Christina Aguilera, discovered her from the ground up, Pussycat Dolls, Nicole Scherzinger, straight to the stars. Like, he was my R&B god. Like, everything that I felt like I wanted to be as an artist, he created. Christina Aguilera was my idol growing up. So I was like, this is it, Ron Fair, you are my man. So we signed with Ron. It took literally 6 months to sign this deal. We had to set up companies in LA, all over the shop, just to sign this deal. And it was a massive advance. That's it. Tallia Storm signed with Virgin Records. Ron Fair, my A&R. So straight away, gets out in the UK, and Radio 1 pick up one of my songs called California, and they got me in, and they did this whole segment called Tallia Storm, one in a zillion pop star, quote from Ron Fair, my A&R, who just signed me, and that was it. 5-album world deal, advance of the century, superstar. 6 weeks later, we're talking about getting me in the studio with all these writers, getting flown back and forth to LA. We hear from like the grapevine that Ron Fair sacked. He's gone. That's it. Every dream. Like, that was it. Every 6 months, setting up all these companies, Radio 1, one in a gazillion pop star. They were already playlisting my song California, which was from one of the Elton John demos. Like, this was my moment. Everything is set up for this. I've just met all the songwriters, the producers. We're about to get going. Gone. Like that. He's gone. Your A&R is gone. So the way the music business work, he is my A&R, so he is like my he I don't want to say he owns me, but he is like, I am his. So no other A&R is going to be like, "Oh, Tallia's mine now," because it's all about like ego and who discovers who. So nobody else discovered me. It was Ron Fair that discovered me. So he's gone. What am I going to do? So Steve Barnett was like the head of the company, head of Capitol. Was like, that's it. We'll make her Katy Perry. And it was just, it was over before we could even say over. I was never going to be a Katy Perry. I'm literally 14, 15 years old, living in Scotland, singing R&B soul my whole life. And just like that. So a lot of the songwriters and producers, I mean, the advice was great. It was very much, even now Roger's supporting me like through all of this, was just like, do not ever sign your life away until you have that control of like success. So for me, since then, obviously there's been loads of labels coming and going every time I get a viral TikTok or a viral moment, come with us. But I think nowadays you really got to be patient, work on getting yourself that success, i.e. whether it's, a song in the top 75 and then going to the labels. And I think, I'm saying labels, but you can 100% do it independently, but it's just be patient with it. And I think that whole experience just kind of was such like a difficult experience in terms of being 15 and being so high to being like, this is my wildest dream coming true and I've worked so hard for this, to being like, I literally have nothing. I'm now back in Scotland, and all the people around me are now just gone. So
how do you go through a moment like that, which is that highest high, to readjusting your life when it's flipped upside down?
Well, I think I am so grateful to be doing what I'm doing, and I found my thing. So I feel like it would have been very easy for me then to just be like, oh my goodness, I feel sorry for myself. Well, I just felt like I wasn't allowed to, because how lucky I am to have even experienced these things. Because some people don't even get to experience these things. I was flown out to LA, I was flown out to New York, I was meeting all these songwriters. I just opened for Elton John. All amongst this, I also got a book deal with Scholastic. I was regularly, hanging out with Nile Rodgers and doing his TED Talks, and I hosted TEDx London. So there were so many little things along the way that just made me feel almost angry at myself for being annoyed, even though it was a very natural feeling. I'm 15 years old and my dreams have just been handed on a plate and then pulled away. So, and I don't even want to say handed on a plate because they weren't, but whatever way we want to look at it, I was very lucky. So, I do think that these are the moments in life that make you and break you. So you can easily just be like, hang on a minute, this isn't for me. But I think along that, I also realized that this was exactly what I was meant to do in terms of I could handle it. And I think, if I look at my sister, like, she's very different from me. She's like very emotional. But me, I just knew that like, this only made me stronger. This only made me want to be like, hang on a minute, let me prove you all wrong. And I laugh because sometimes I see these like label execs who I know have tried to like mess with me so many times along the way, doing little things that I hear through the grapevine that they've tried to do this to sabotage that or this. And I'm like, I look at them and I'm like, think how many people have come and gone and Tallia Storm is still floating about. Like, I've not made it, baby, but I'm still here, okay? And you're still looking at me at the Brits, okay? So I've not made it. I have not. But I promise you, I'm going to keep going and working so hard just to get that moment. And I think I'm enjoying the journey. And I'm grateful for the highs. I'm grateful for the lows. And it's just me against me. And
how, for me, I think what comes out of what you're saying is that you are so driven. I don't think I've ever met anyone as driven as you are, that literally goes after your dream. Even when you're facing these failures, you're facing these hurdles and things have been taken away, a lot of people would just be like, well, I give up. Like, I'm not going to continue. How on earth do you keep going? Like, how do you pick yourself up and go, okay, that hasn't worked out, so I'm going to keep going and try a different route?
I think jealousy is a big part of it. And again, jealousy, whole different topic of like, are we really being honest with ourselves? Why are we jealous of that person? Why right now am I jealous of you? Because you're doing something I wish I was doing. You're doing something that I wish I had the courage to do. You're putting yourself out there. And, kids on TikTok, if I could give you one piece of advice, it's like, hey, don't care about that kid judging you and laughing at you in the school hallways because you're making a TikTok, because when you've got like 2 million followers in like 10 years time, they're going to be adding you back on Instagram and Facebook and trying to like be your friends. And I've lost count of the amount of times this has happened to me. Like the guys that bullied me in school, like threw pens at me, like following me in my DMs. I cried about you. I cried over you. Like I literally went home and cried for hours because I'll never forget this one boy. And I actually, it got that bad in school, like bullied so badly in school because of all this was going on. So also you have to forget, I was still going to school at 15 when this record label was up there and then down. I was still going to school the next day. So it's not like I was in some sort of Disney Channel bubble.
That's mad to think that, all of this happened to you and you were literally like getting up and going to school the next day.
And I still had to put on that brave face of like, I didn't want everyone else to see me as a failure. I still had to, this actually makes me really sad. Like I went into school the next day, I'm 15 years old, and I didn't want all my friends to think, they'd read about me getting a record deal. And then now suddenly I don't have one anymore. And I'm still having to go into school and being like, yeah, it's cool, it's chill. So again, that's probably why I'm okay with failure, because I've done failure since I was 15. So,
Definitely.
Kids in school will be like, oh yeah, like what happened to the record deal? And obviously it was a lot. I was putting myself out there. So of course, like the older kids were jealous of me. And this, like I said, this one boy, he literally scrunched up a piece of paper and a pen and threw it at me on the staircase. And everybody laughed as if like, oh my God, haha. And I'll never forget bursting into tears and literally going to like the I don't want to say the principal's office, but like the community, like teacher's office. And I remember just being like, yeah, what now? Like, what do I do? And school is the difficult one. That's a whole different ballgame. But it's like, my point is they're adding me back. They're trying to be in my DMs now. And I'm like, if you knew how much of a misery you gave me at school and tried to put me down. But I'm a Scorpio. So if you bite me, I'm going to work harder to just double up. So
I'm even on just like a smaller scale, I can already, like, and the small platform that we've got with Talk Twenties, the same is happening. The people who probably weren't very nice in school or doubted you or you never got a good vibe from, they're the ones that are slowly now following. When they start to see you get successful, it's kind of like, oh, like maybe I actually want to follow it. Maybe I want to say that I knew that person as well, which is mad. And I think it's crazy to think that, like, I think I probably let those people really, really get to me. a lot when I was younger because I remember them now. Like it cuts deep when I'm like, oh, now they're following what we're doing. So it's really interesting.
I always think about this thing that ASAP Rocky said, and he was like, how can you ever judge anyone that puts themselves out there when they're doing something? Like when you see your friend maybe post a singing cover and naturally like, oh God, maybe that's not it. How dare you? Like, why are we so entitled that we can have opinion on someone that has the courage to post something, whether it's a singing cover, whether it's like whether it's somebody making a podcast in their bedroom, like they're doing something, like they're putting themselves out there. That takes courage, man. So that might not be their final destination. They've got a million more successes to come, but let's support that. Why would we knock that down on anybody putting themselves out there? So yeah, it's a difficult one. I'm not here to say it gets easier because it doesn't. I'm just here to be like, let's take the pressure off ourselves, and then that can make it easier. Just for ourselves, let's just take that weight off our shoulder. We've got a ladder. Let's envisage the ladder, and let's every year take a step. But a realistic step, okay? We're not going to be millionaires by 25. It's not going to happen. I'm not going to be. I'm paying rent now. Like I'm an adult.
Grown up,
okay,
yeah.
Like let's just make realistic goals that we can almost like look forward to accomplish, rather than put the burden and the pressure of like that unrealistic fantasy that's arbitrary. It's not real.
I think there's conversations happening at the moment that like obviously we're all starting from like different points as well. Like, some of us do have a greater privilege than others in order to be able to put themselves out there and stuff like that. Is there anything that kind of you feel around this, like, with the chances you've got in life, or with the opportunities that have kind of passed you, where you feel like there is an element of kind of like privilege that you've had those opportunities and luck and all of that kind of plays into it, that other people might feel they potentially might not have because of their financial situation, where they've grown up, the opportunities that they're reaching out to? Like, do you feel like there's an element like that can potentially be a hurdle to get through as well?
Obviously, I think it just comes back to, you cannot be looking left or right. You cannot judge anyone, and you just have to be so grateful. This is why every 2 minutes I'm saying to you, I am so grateful. Like, how dare I feel sad about my failure when I was lucky enough to have that break from Elton John?
Yeah.
Like, every time I'm like maybe sad because this hasn't worked out or my record deal's fallen to, like, how dare I when I am that lucky and that privileged to have that moment? Okay? Because everybody's story is so different. Everybody's journey is so different. And I think, my hard work might not be hard work to someone else, but to me it's hard work.
One of the things I've heard you kind of speak about a little bit is that like going viral and experiencing all these great big highs, it comes with a level of like opportunity and amazing things that have happened, but also a huge burden. How do you kind of look at it in terms of a situation where you feel like you've made it, you've got to that point, and it's the big adjustment that you're making?
Well, I'm not going to lie. I've had my entire, if I'm talking about my life as a career, I've had loads of people come and go that have gotten far more famous, if you want to call it, far more successful, far more views, hits than I have in a much shorter time. But I think it's like, I am still on that journey and I'm okay with it. And I think it's like, I've never really had to adjust because everything has been so progressive so slowly. And I'm grateful for that pace. So I don't feel like, I've never woken up one day and been like, oh my goodness, I'm a hit. I'm not on the charts. So all of these incredible things are happening that I'm very grateful for, but my dream is still to be in the charts. So I think, although, I'm working really hard on loads of different elements, because I think nowadays you can be it all. You can be a singer, you can be an influencer, you can be a presenter, you can be on reality TV. Everyone's journey is so different. Wes Nelson, Love Island, X Factor, number one superstar.
Yeah.
So I think this idea of putting anyone in a box, I really don't enjoy. Like, let's just do it all. Say yes. Last year was my year of yes. I said it the whole year. I said yes, 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 yes. Now, with that yes brought me a lot more, like, I don't want to say mistakes, but the learning I did last year, like I said at the start, was far more than any year because I said yes. So my advice to like probably my younger self would be, say yes sooner. Like, I've always said, if it scares you, you're doing the right thing. Like, the moment you like don't want to send that email because you're slightly frightened of like what they'll say, that's the right thing to do. The moment like, you should feel like, nah, you shouldn't like double text, do it. Because then you're going to find out sooner that he doesn't like you. You know, do it right now. I find out. Let's go. Like make the phone call, you know? And I think the moment you start doing, the moment you start realizing, the moment the universe starts falling into place. You know, even the Elton John era, there was no TikTok. Instagram was very new. I remember posting a photo and getting like 1 like. Like Instagram was not a thing. It was still Facebook.
Yeah.
So I never had like a viral post. I never had like a viral song. I think I actually had MySpace.
Yeah.
I think I had a song called Gotcha that kind of got like maybe like 100,000 plays. And I was like, wow, that's huge. But I think just pace it. Pace it, pace it, pace it, pace it, pace it.
So looking at this topic of like overnight success then, to you, that obviously no one is an overnight success, or maybe do you feel like some people are, like Olivia Rodrigo and things like that? Like for a young person that's watching this happen, what would you want to say to someone who kind of feels like overnight success is what they're hoping to achieve? Perhaps with the whole Love Island thing, like literally you can be someone one day and then you can walk out with, you know, thousands and thousands of followers. A lot of young people are looking to Love Island, reality TV, YouTube, TikTok, whatever it is, and thinking that potentially overnight success is really, really achievable for them. But realistically, it's, you know, I think I put a post out on our Talk 20s page and said that there are 9 million 20-somethings in the UK, 9 million. About 30 of them, between 30 and 40, go into Love Island each year. What is that? That's like an absolute minuscule amount. And these are the people that are having like overnight success. But it's all we see, because that's all we see on the platforms. It's all we see on social media. And realistically, the people who are trying to go after their dream, it takes time. It takes failure. It takes, you know, falling down and getting back up again. Like if you had to speak to a young person about success and how it's not necessarily overnight, what would you say?
I think this goes back to what I said earlier. It's the moment you're looking at anybody else, you're taking that time away from yourself. And I think it's so easy to fall in that trap. Like I said, my best friend, she's finished uni, she's in her job, and she was like, you know, like I've got this incredible job, but like what now? I feel like I'm not doing enough. I'm like, you have just studied 4 years in university. You are a hero. Like you did that. You got your degree. You've got an incredible job, but like, why has social media made you feel like you're not enough? You're better than me. Like you've just done that. Like you've done something. Like that's incredible. Like let's celebrate that. And like you said, it's such a small percentage, but because it's in excess, it's you open your Instagram, you open your TikTok, it's all there. Of course that's gonna bring you down. But I think we shouldn't be looking at them and being like angry or jealous. Like they can be happy, but so can you. Like let them do your thing. And also, as far as I'm concerned, like there's no such thing as an overnight success. You know, even Olivia Rodrigo, she did High School Musical. Like she had to learn those lines for hours. She didn't have a childhood. She was in Disney. She worked hard. That's not an overnight success. Everyone was like, driver's license, wow, it's broke the internet. That girl worked her bum off to get that moment, to get that overnight success, okay? She was 17, but for all we know, she started at 7, okay? It takes 10 years to have that overnight success moment, you know? And the thing about, I love kind of being in this place is I get to meet so many incredible people that are maybe at my stage that are far bigger, and their stories are all similar. It doesn't happen overnight. It really takes time. And I know I sound like a broken record here, but it's hard to come with terms with the fact that your journey might not be the one that you first planned. Like I said this at the beginning, you've got to be honest with yourself. At 23, of course, I would have thought that I would be living in LA, you know, with a hit by now. Of course I did. That's what I believe. That's what you do to yourself. You manifest, you dream. That's what a dream is. But sometimes it's like as a human, we need to come to terms with what's a fantasy and what's achievable. Well, hang on a minute. How dare I? Like keep going, work harder, like I said. But take the pressure off it. Enjoy it. Who's setting this timer for us?
I think that's a big thing, isn't it?
Who set the timer?
Yeah.
You know? And I think it comes from to having the courage to just do it and fail. And being like, that was embarrassing. Let's move on. You know? And it can be as simple as like, you know, I don't know, releasing a song that's not great. Great, move on. Next. Cool. You didn't like it. Well, I liked it. I'm okay.
Yeah. Honestly, it's been really interesting listening to you speak and kind of look at your perspective. You've been obviously through a lot and had such highs and such lows, and it's really interesting to kind of hear your point of view. And I think for anyone listening right now, they can relate your passion and your drive for wanting to be, you know, a singer-songwriter and in the charts and everything like that to whatever their thing is. So if that's, you know, they want to train as a doctor, or they want to be a manager in a certain company that they're working for, or, you know, they want to start their own business, like whatever that is, like just like go easy on yourself, but don't give up, I think is essentially what we're saying here. Like, don't give up. It doesn't happen overnight. And just know that as long as you are following your path and being true to what really inspires you, then you're going to get there. And it's going to take time, but just keep going for it. And I think it's been really inspirational hearing you chat. We always ask guests on the podcast if they have a memorable moment, a big adulting disaster or fail where they feel like super, super embarrassed, and they feel like, I think we've talked about it a lot on the podcast. Not everyone does talk about their failures so openly. So like, you know, it's amazing that you're happy to share that. But is there a moment for you that stands out where you're like, I cannot believe I even did that, but I learned so much from that big element of failure?
I mean, it's probably two things. It's the whole record deal thing. It's signing that deal, 6 months in the making, it being all over the news, Radio 1, one in a zillion pop star, and then stripped away overnight, going into school the next day and being like, great, let's go back to geography now and act like all that didn't happen, because that's what I meant to do. I meant to just be okay with it and move on. That's it. Another one probably that I don't even talk about, that I actually never talk about, which, funny enough, a lot of people know me for. So when I was 20, I think it was a year after Celebs Go Dating, I was, like I said, I was on such a high and I was on just such a low. Like 20 was not the year for me. I said this, like I put on so much weight. I just was not enjoying myself. And again, it comes from that greed of wanting more, but not doing enough. And I was not doing enough, okay? And I look back on it now and I'm like, get yourself together, Tallia. Work harder, okay? So I did like a couple of other TV shows. I did like Celeb Driving License or whatever it was called. And then I got asked to go on X Factor the band. Now, they offered me so much money to go on it. And I was just like, this is great. They were like, well, you're not going to be in a band, but it's only 3 episodes. Come, you'll get through. And I was like, you know what, this is it. Sure, no problem. Like, I'm not going to be in a band. I'm an artist, but like why wouldn't I? It's primetime TV. It's Simon Cowell. Like, if they're saying he's a fan, then let's go. So I went. I, obviously got as planned. Got through the first round, and then round number 2, like we knew I wasn't going to get into the band. That was always the part of it. And I'm on stage and I sing, and I finished singing, and they've got their panel, and Ellie Ayres, one of the judges, who's like my friend. And I'm like, this is so ridiculous that I'm here. Like I've already done like 8 years of this, and now I'm like about to, like kind of going into bands. So in hindsight, I should absolutely have not ever done this show. But I just thought, well, this is yes, this is what I'm all about. I am where I am because I say yes to everything. And it was kind of that moment that I realized that, like, love, this is not what you thought this was. Like, this they're using me for the views. They're using this for pop star Tallia Storm thinks she can get in a band. No, I didn't for a minute think I was going to get in a band, because you told me I wouldn't be in a band. And next thing you know, the only thing all over the papers was Tallia Storm reject from the band. But you told me I wasn't going to be in the band. But I did it because I love music and I wanted to show you guys I can sing, because I love singing. Why would I turn down an opportunity to show the world I can sing? That's my passion. And then we filmed loads of like hours of like pre-tapes, they call it. And then I was like, I made a joke and I was like, nah, I'd love to be a backing singer, ha ha ha, like bantering, because we were laughing. The only part they used it was, it's my dream to be a backing singer, ah ha 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 ha. And I'm like, this is hilarious, because like, here we go again. And it's something I don't talk about, because it's like, it was literally 3 days out of my life. But a lot of people on TikTok are like, oh, is that the girl from X Factor band? And I'm like, God, out of everything I've done in my life, I did Celebs Go Dating for 3 months. You know what I mean? I got all my followers from that. I've got 2 best-selling books. Like, my book is a bestseller in America. I've done Elton John at 13, NME. I've performed with Nile Rodgers. I've performed at the Wembley Arena, hosted
and
with
Becca
Dudley.
Rejected from X Factor the band.
And the X Factor the band reject is what you're talking about.
Yeah.
A show that never happened again. They cancelled. Like, every part of it. Like, are you all right? And also, like, they said on stage, they were like, well, how can you be in a band when you're an artist? And I'm like, yeah, I am an artist. And we had this big conversation of like, they were like, oh, how many followers you got TikTok? And the time I had like 13 million likes already. And they're like, wow, this is incredible. And I'm like, yeah, but you didn't keep any of that in. You just used me to boost this show a bit. So stuff like that, it's like, and when I came off, they wanted to like make me look like I was a diva, but like, I didn't. Dermot O'Leary like tried to have like a moment, and I was like, he was like, you sad? I'm like, no. Like, first of all, we knew, but second of all, like, that wasn't my destiny. I came to show you guys I could sing because I love singing.
If you could go back to that moment, would you not do it?
No, I would do it. And I think it would, and any normal person would do that, I wouldn't do it. But that moment made me who I am. That failure, that feeling of being on stage and being like, I have just been tricked into this by 5 million producers telling me that this is the best thing ever and I'm going to show my voice and not be in a band. Well, I've just been used, okay? And I'm 20 years old and... But in that moment, I was
you
like...
learned a lot from it.
It was another moment that I was like, I really am made for this. Because if I can stand on the stage when you guys are all trying to make me look like...
Yeah.
Like this. Like you are all trying to make me look like a laughing stock and I can still hold my head held high. Let's go. Like, let's actually go. I'm made for this. Like, bring it on.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? If I dealt with that when I'm 15, I can do this when I'm 20.
You really literally have nerves of steel. Like, the strong will, like, determination that you have is like no one I've ever met or spoken to. It's crazy.
It's just the courage. It's the courage to, like, I was on that stage and I remember just thinking, like, what have I done? I cried for 3 days after it, like 3 full days. I was in hysterics. Now, I'm not a crier, and I cried for 3 full days because I was like, wow. And I've got another friend, actually, Kiara King, who's now with TikTok over 2 million followers. They did the exact same thing to her. And they actually said no to her. Whereas, like, they didn't say no to me. They just said, you're a pop star. You can't be in a band. So I didn't actually get a no, but she got a no, even though she was told the exact same story as me. And I just think, you know, I'm strong enough for that, but my heart aches for all those girls that were in that show that hadn't already had 8 years of experience and actually felt that.
I think it's also the industry you're going into is so tough.
Yeah,
you know?
and you know, I was brought up on, my mum's always said since I was 12 years old, if you can't swim with the sharks, don't jump in the sea. And that was me swimming with the sharks. I chose to say yes to that show, so suck it up. Suck it up, Tallia. You decided on this moment. I would do it again. Of course I would do it again. This is who I am. It's my job to step up and be better every day. And that, I can't even tell you what that did to me as a person. Like, maybe that is the reason that 22 was so great for me, because, like, the lesson that I learned in that whole experience. So, I don't know, my message is like, hey, I am not Tallia from X Factor the band, okay? It was a 3-episode show. It was not the X Factor, okay? The concept was to find a band, right? And maybe it was my greed for wanting more that I went on it. Maybe had I been more patient, then I would have been like, no, I don't need you, Simon Cowell. I don't need you and your views. I don't need your audience and your ratings in your eyes. Because if anything, all that's going to do is tell people that I'm an X Factor the band reject. Well, I'm not, okay? I'd already written Gemma Collins' theme tune for her show. Do you know what I mean? I did that.
I think it's just like you've tried all these things, and it's really interesting to see you like say, look, your path isn't going to be linear. You're gonna find where you need to go, and
you're gonna make the mistakes.
Yeah,
like that was a mistake. That was definitely a mistake. I'm not saying, like I said, I would do it again because I'm all about learning, and I think that's maybe who I am as a person. I do like risking it all, and you've got to risk it all. And Kanye West always says that. I know it sounds ridiculous, but if you actually want to make it in life, you've got to risk it all.
Yeah,
but it's true. It's like you poke at it, and sometimes the balloon just bursts. And X Factor the band was the balloon bursting.
Yeah,
and yeah, not the right decision, but I know I'm a great singer, and I know that I can now play the piano and I can write a great song. And hey, at the same time as X Factor the band running, my theme tune was on Gemma Collins' Diva Forever, ITVB. So you know what? If you don't like X Factor the band, turn on to ITVB because my song's on there too, okay? So, you know, it's like, fight me because I'm going to keep going, okay? And you can hate me for it, you can love me for it, but I'm not going anywhere.
You are so determined, and I absolutely love that about you. We always end the podcast with one simple question, and before I ask you this question, I have to say how much I've loved chatting to you today.
Aww.
It's been amazing to have you on the podcast and to just hear your story, which is a unique one. And I think for anyone who's listening right now that, like, you know, needed to hear that, like, you know, you can fail 100 times over and you can not be where you want to be, but that doesn't make you any less successful. That doesn't make you any less proud of the person that you are. I think it's been really, really inspiring. So thank you for coming up to the studio to have this conversation with us. But the one question that we always end the podcast on is if you could look back at Tallia at 20 and give that 20-year-old Tallia like one piece of advice, what would you say to her?
You are enough. You are enough. Like, believe deep down in your core that, like, I look at the photos of X Factor the band and I'm like 2 sizes bigger, and I just know in my eyes that I just felt like Like that was it. You know, I was on such a high from Celebs Go Dating to like literally on the ground of like what I felt like was just a complete failure. And that really was probably a moment that I'll never forget in like my whole life. Probably still scarred from it. And I just want to be like, look, love, don't rush. It's going to happen. And if you just keep your head down and keep going, not looking left and right. And I was that person. I went on X Factor The Man because I was looking left and right. I was looking at all the artists who, you know, were younger than me and taking off much faster than me and doing that collab with that big rapper. Now they're in the charts. So it's like, you know, slow down and, you know, maybe continue saying yes. You know, yeah, obviously X Factor The Band, I said yes, but 2022 is going to be my year of, you know, let's do. But 2021 was like year of yes. And I think that's when I really found myself. So just keep saying yes. Take the pressure off your shoulders. It's going to happen. Trust the process. So yeah, trust the process is what I'm trying to say here. Get to the point, Tallia.
Trust the process.
Trust the process.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for coming into studio. It's been so lovely to chat to you today. And thank you so much for your lovely words about the podcast. It's so amazing to hear that you kind of believe in Talk 20s and everything we're about. So thank you so much for coming up.
Thanks so much for having me. I think it's important. Your 20s are tough, but it's all right. We're going to get through them, baby.
We are. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for tuning in to this episode of the Talk 20s podcast. I hope it inspired you in some way and pops a little pep in your step for this week. Got a spare minute? It would mean the absolute world if you could subscribe, leave a review, or share this episode with a friend. We're on a mission to help as many 20-somethings navigate their 20s as we can, and we really cannot do it without your support. We also love to hear from you. You can find us on all platforms via the handle @Talk20s. And if you're struggling with something in your 20s that we haven't already covered in the podcast, DM us and let us know so we can cover it in a future episode. And for more stories of inspiration and resources to help you make the best of your 20s, head to our website, talk20s.com.